I went to the bank and found out I couldn't withdraw my money. It was supposed to be a fixed deposit, but now it's turned into an insurance policy. I really need the money now, but I can't get it out.
Recently, an unusual incident occurred in China's A-share securities market, where nearly 60 million yuan in bank deposits of a listed company mysteriously disappeared, sparking widespread online discussion. According to a November 4th report by Daily Economic News, Hubei Chaozhuo Aviation Technology Co. Ltd. Announced on November 3rd that on March 30th this year, through its wholly owned subsidiary Shanghai Chaozhuo Metal Material Co. Ltd., it deposited temporarily idle fundraising money of 60 million yuan into the China Merchants Bank Nanjing Chengbei branch to earn deposit interest. However, on October 7th, 59.95 million of this money was clandestinely transferred out of the company's account without their knowledge by the bank. Hubei Chaozhuo Aviation disclosed that after conducting an internal investigation and inquiring with the China Merchants Bank, it was discovered that 59.55 million yuan was transferred into a margin deposit account on the same day, with the interest starting from March 30th and the expiration date being September 30th. Under the same deposit account, there were records of issuing bank acceptance drafts totaling 239.8 million yuan to Beijing Control, Jiangsu Construction Project Management Co. Ltd., also referred to as Beijing Control Jiangsu, and Nanjing Longyuan Huineng Power Technology Co. Ltd., referred to as Nanjing Longyuan. These were issued under the company's name, with the issuing date being March 29th and the drafts due on September 29th. In other words, of the 60 million yuan deposited in the bank, only 50,000 yuan remains. Hubei Chaozhuo Aviation stated that it was unaware of the bank acceptance drafts issued before the funds were deposited and has reported the case to the authorities. Hubei Chaozhuo Aviation further noted that there is no related or business relationship between the company, its directors, supervisors, senior executives, actual controllers, and the Beijing Control Jiangsu and Nanjing Longyuan, nor has it ever signed any agreements with these two companies. Public information shows that Hubei Chaozhuo Aviation mainly engages in customized additive manufacturing and airborne equipment maintenance services, servicing clients such as the military and its aircraft overhaul factories, military industrial groups, and civilian aviation operators. Beijing Control Jiangsu, established in 2015, is a construction engineering company, and Nanjing Longyuan, founded in 2016, is involved in designing, developing, manufacturing, selling, and providing technical services for primary and secondary electrical equipment in smart grids. The incident has sparked heated discussions on Weibo. Netizen Ye Mao commented, "When we see money disappearing from a listed company's account, our first thought is financial fraud. But this time, it seems not to be fraud, but rather the company's money being used for financial management and then taken as collateral. There have been similar cases before." Another by the name of Xiao Li, No Flying Knife, said, "It's impossible for a single employee to handle such a large amount. Even a large transaction at a regular counter goes through several hands, let alone this kind. But there will always be a temp worker to take the blame." Stormy Snow said, "Money doesn't just vanish into thin air. Every transaction is recorded. Trace it back and the truth will emerge. It's just that people are now bold enough to do anything." Wu Zuolai, a scholar living in the US, shared the news on the overseas social media platform X, saying, "It used to be that individual accounts would suddenly lose money, and now even large accounts are not safe. The Chinese communist banks might have a big problem. Better take some money home." Chinese citizens have always believed banks to be the safest place to deposit money, but in recent years, similar incidents of disappearing deposits have occurred frequently in China, affecting both enterprises and individuals with often large amounts involved, raising concerns about the management of Chinese banks. One netizen commented, "If such incidents become common, leading to a collapse in banking trust, it would be a profound disaster." On October 21st, at the Yuan border service area on the expressway in Yongcheng, Henan, the depositors of rural banks in Henan demonstrated for the 11th time. It once again drew widespread attention. The video shows depositors of Henan rural banks protesting on the highway with banners reading, "Henan government robs citizens of their lawful deposits, restricts personal freedom, banks demand illegal withdrawal of deposits, absurd and shameless, shocking," and "Henan Rural Commercial United Bank return my deposits. No withdrawal allowed in banks. Where is the credit of Chinese banks?" The protesters were then violently dispersed by the arriving police. An insider revealed that over 50 of the protesting depositors were forcibly taken away by the police. The incident began on April 18, 2022, when 6 rural banks in Henan and Anhui provinces simultaneously and unexpectedly shut down online withdrawal and transfer services, citing system maintenance, which resulted in depositors being unable to access their funds. This financial scandal involved 4 of these rural banks in Henan, affecting over 400,000 depositors and involving over 40 billion yuan. Most of these depositors had purchased financial products from these rural banks through third-party platforms such as Baidu's Du Xiaoman Financial, JD Finance, and Xiaomi Finance. Following the incident, the shareholders of the 5 affected rural banks in Henan and Anhui, led by Xuchang Rural Commercial Bank, released an announcement on May 25th, stating that each of the 5 rural banks operates independently, and that Xuchang Rural Commercial Bank does not have actual control over their management. Due to the lack of a resolution from the Chinese government's financial regulatory authorities and the involved banks, the affected depositors resorted to protests and demonstrations to assert their rights. On July 10, 2022, a large-scale protest erupted in Zhengzhou, Henan Province, involving depositors from the affected rural banks. The protest was blocked and violently suppressed by police and plainclothes officers. In one video, depositors in front of the Zhengdong Financial Building held banners stating, "Oppose arbitrary power, oppose the Henan provincial government's collusion with the underworld in violently beating depositors," and shouted slogans like, "Encouraging underworld activities, return our deposits. Li Keqiang, look at Henan." Li Keqiang is the popular ex-Chinese premier who recently passed away from a heart attack. Another video showed depositors from Henan rural banks accusing plainclothes officers of blocking their protest. A third video captured these depositors being violently beaten by the plainclothes officers. Throughout the year following the incident's onset, a range of strategies have been utilized by the Chinese government. These tactics include misleadingly dispersing minor deposit amounts, issuing red health codes to limit the movement of depositors, forcefully suppressing their actions, and even going so far as to install tracking devices on their vehicles. Despite these measures, the legitimate rights of the depositors remain disregarded by the authorities. The victims have persisted in their efforts to break through blockades and assert their rights. In recent years, numerous cases involving deposit fraud, missing deposits, credit card theft, and deposits being turned into insurance policies have been reported in China's banking system. These incidents primarily involve financial products with guaranteed returns, failing to deliver due to frequent defaults in the financial market. Banks, funds, and trusts resorting to fraudulent practices to earn brokerage fees, converting deposits into financial products, and bank employees deceiving depositors by changing deposit receipts into insurance policies or even illicitly transferring funds from depositors' accounts. After these cases were exposed, Chinese financial institutions and local courts consistently shifted the legal responsibility from the corporate entities to the individuals involved, displaying a lack of accountability. Among these, the fraudulent conversion of deposit receipts into insurance contracts by bank employees is a widespread practice. In March 2022, a news story about a senior manager of the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China's Nanning branch being sentenced to life imprisonment for embezzling 250 million yuan of depositor funds generated heated public debate. The controversy mainly centered on the fact that although the embezzlement took place in the bank itself bore no responsibility. The depositors involved in this case found themselves in a position where they could not hold anyone accountable and faced significant financial losses. Multiple victims reported to Huaxia Times that after handling large certificate of deposit transactions at the ICBC, their deposits were covertly transferred by Liang Jianhong, a senior manager of the ICBC Nanning branch, by taking advantage of her position. However, the first instance court ruled that Liang Jianhong committed theft against the depositors, and the bank was not required to compensate for any losses. The depositors questioned how their money could be stolen in broad daylight while being deposited in a bank, and why the bank was completely exempt from liability. On May 21, 2019, a woman named Shi confessed to the police, admitting that she was the personal assistant of Liang Jianhong, the ICBC Nanning branch senior manager. Under Liang's instruction, she repeatedly forged large certificates of deposit, swapping them with the real certificates of depositors and then quietly transferring their money. The next day, Liang Jianhong was arrested by the police and subsequently dismissed by the ICBC. Before the incident, Liang Jianhong was the general manager of the personal finance business department of the ICBC Nanning branch, mainly responsible for personal business in Nanning, including savings deposits, wealth management, and personal loans. On November 19, 2021, the Nanning Intermediate People's Court issued a first instance judgment. Liang Jianhong was sentenced to life imprisonment for theft, fraud, and forging financial instruments. Shi and 2 other accomplices received prison sentences ranging from 7 to 15 years. All defendants were ordered to compensate the victims for their financial losses. When Liang Jianhong was detained by the police in May 2019, she was initially suspected of embezzlement. However, during the prosecution phase, the charges were changed to theft, fraud, and forging financial instruments, with the embezzled 253 million yuan in deposit certificates included under theft. In terms of fraud, Liang was involved in scamming 2 million yuan from a victim. For forging financial instruments, she forged 350 bank certificates. And in terms of fundraising fraud and illegal absorption of public deposits, she raised approximately 3.56 billion yuan from 48 investors, with actual losses amounting to about 150 million yuan. Specifically regarding the theft of deposit certificates, Liang Jianhong stole approximately 253 million yuan from 28 depositors, including Li Si and Zhang Shan. Despite returning some of the money before the incident, about 120 million yuan remained unpaid after the incident. This report sparked widespread public attention and discussion. Xu Gang, a Chinese lawyer specializing in criminal defense, commented on Weibo, "Such a judgment is problematic. When customers deposit money in a bank, a savings contract is established. Once the funds are handed over to the bank, a creditor-debtor relationship arises. The bank's obligation is to pay the principal and interest to the customer as per the deposit contract. If the money disappears in the bank, the criminal's violation is against the bank, not the customer. Therefore, as a legal entity, the bank should still fulfill its obligation to pay the customer's principal and interest." Unfortunately, this inside job at the bank is not an isolated incident. 21st Century Business Herald found that similar cases of bank employees embezzling funds have occurred frequently, mostly in relatively remote areas city commercial banks and rural commercial banks, although the modus operandi varies. Currently, China is facing an imminent severe financial crisis. The mid-year reports of A-share listed banks on August 31st show that Chinese banks' net interest margin has continued to decline in recent years, and the number of bank draft defaults in China dramatically increased in July. According to data released by the Shanghai Bill Exchange, by the end of July, there were defaults by 2,851 bill acceptors. Among these defaulters, 271 were branches of state-owned banks, city commercial banks, and rural commercial banks. Of the 271 banks involved in bill defaults, the 5 major state-owned banks accounted for 167 branches. That is, the Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China, Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, and Postal Savings Bank of China. It is conceivable that, in order to transfer financial risks to depositors as much as possible, Chinese banks will inevitably introduce various regulations restricting the use of depositor funds under the tacit or even direct guidance of the CCP, further jeopardizing the already insecure bank deposits and their free usage.